Hey guys, it's Greg, and this is the Vinyl Rundown, and I make videos occasionally about music and records and rants about anything I feel like it. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about getting robbed at a record store. Yes, I've got a little story to tell, and I worked at 3 different record stores in my early days in college and high school. I worked at the famous Licorice Pizza and at the Warehouse, which was kind of a very adult corporate chain. On a little store called National Compact Disc. Some guy in the 80s, 80s, thought it would be cool to come out with a store that had only CDs, no LPs, because that was the future. Well, this story takes place at that store here in Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley. But why am I going to tell this story? Well, I heard somebody else tell a story recently the other day about how they thwarted a robbery, and I realized, hey, I did the same thing. I thwarted a robbery at a record store. This was Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy I was watching on some podcast, and he was talking about his newest book. He's written like 90 books, but the last dozen or so have been about persuasion, psychology, motivation, all that stuff. And he did this story about thwarting a robbery with psychology. I did something that was kind of the same, so I just want to share this story with you and, see if it can help you in any way, because there's a little psychology involved. So this is on a warm summer night in the mid-'80s, Los Angeles, Ventura Boulevard, Encino, right down the block from the famous Sherman Oaks Galleria, the home of the Valley Girl. And it's probably 9 o'clock at night. Maybe you've got a few minutes till the store closes, probably at 9:30. And there's nobody in the store except me and one coworker. And we're both behind the front counter. And I see a gentleman walk in the front door. And immediately I am suspicious about him. Okay, suspicious for a couple of different reasons. First of all, it's a hot summer night. Here in the San Fernando Valley, it gets to be 100, 105 midday routinely. So this guy, young, maybe he's 25, 30. He's wearing a brown leather jacket, long sleeve, zipped up to the neck. Like, why is anybody wearing any jacket? And why are you wearing one that's zipped up? And there was a bulge in what could have been perhaps a holster or a gun or weapon or something. There was a bulge in a jacket that did not need to be zipped up. So, suspicion number one, what do you got in the jacket, bro? Suspicion number two, what do people do when they walk into record stores? Okay, if you're at the front counter and you're paying attention to who's walking in the store, which you should do. You shouldn't be goofing around on your phone. You should see who's coming in the store. You should always make eye contact with whoever comes in the store so they know that you're kind of watching, paying attention to what's going on. What do people do when they walk into a record store, okay? Their eyes light up. They look around. Oh, wow, this is cool. Look at that. Look at this. There's the new Michael Jackson. There's the whatever. And what do people do? They browse around the store for 10, 20 minutes before they ever come up to the counter. Well, this guy walked in, looked straight at the counter, the cash register, walked straight up to the cash register without looking at a single record. Okay. No one has ever done that in the history of record stores. So I knew something was up with this guy. I got multiple suspicions. He's got the jacket. He's got the bulge. He didn't look at any records. Who does that? He walks right up to the counter, looks at the counter, and the only thing we have for sale on the counter is what he picks up. We had a stack of extra CD jewel boxes. They're like 50 cents if you break a jewel box. Like, nobody buys those. Nobody cares about those. Nobody walks into a record store and only buys a CD jewel box. It's never been done in history of humanity. Trust me, it's never been done. So I decide to engage him, and this is where the psychology comes in. I'm not going to just sit there and let him make me open the cash register. I say, is that all you want? Don't you want to look around the store? You sure? Do you even know what this thing is? Literally, I'm sure he didn't know what the hell it was. It was the only thing on the counter. And most people have never seen a CD jewel box empty with nothing in it, without an insert. It's like, it's junk. I mean, so I say, hold on a second. I'll be with you in a minute. I back up, and there's a phone on the wall. I pick up the phone. I pretend to dial. I'm not actually even dialing. I pretend to dial. I pretend to talk to somebody, and I'm looking at him furtively, you know, like, yeah, I'm telling you, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I decide to, here's the psychology I just learned, reframe the conversation. He started this interaction with a conversation about me coming to rob you. And I decided to change the frame, change the conversation to, hey, you're just a guy shopping in my record store. And we're chatting about record store stuff. We really didn't chat about much. But I decided not to enter into a conversation that would allow us to open the cash register. And eventually, he gave up and walked away. I did not call the police. I could have called the police when I was faking the phone call, but to have a bunch of police cars show up, okay, the boss doesn't want that kind of attention. And the guy could have gotten pissed off at that point and pulled out the gun and started something. So he left uneventfully, no police, no nothing. But looking back on that, okay, decades ago, like how did a 19-year-old kid, a skinny 140-pound kid going to UCLA who'd never been in a fight in his life, how did this kid, me, get up the confidence to decide that I was going to play this mental game with this armed robber? And how did he get that lack of confidence to just cower and walk away with empty-handed? Well, I mean, had he walked in with the gun screaming, okay, I wouldn't have played games. I would have just, given him his money, let him go. But he had a lack of confidence with him. When he walked up to the cash register and picked up this thing, I'll have one of these. Like, okay, you got to have more confidence when you're robbing a store, guy. You got to be assertive. You got to walk in and say, "Hit the burger, motherfucker!" He didn't do that. So I just decided I was going to outwit him and not play his game and let him walk away empty-handed. So that's my little lesson on how to change the topic, what Scott Adams calls it. Other people call it this reframing the conversation. I do that with people sometimes. Telemarketers call me, and I act like I want to talk to them. That's the opposite of what they are expecting. Oh, hey, how are you? Where are you from? Oh, how long? What? I don't want to talk to this lunatic. Hey, hi, my name's blah, blah, from the Council of blah, blah. We'd like to solicit, take the conversation somewhere else, dominate the conversation, and you don't have to let people frame the conversation the way they want to frame it. You can frame it the way you want to frame it. Try it. Try it on somebody. Somebody asks you a question. Ask them a question that's relevant to you. Hi, Mr. Greg, would you like to, switch your long distance service? Hey, Fred, thanks for calling. So when were you born? Why do you need to know when I was born? Well, I sell life insurance, and if you tell me when you're born, I will give you a quote. What? I'm calling to sell you, and they get befuddled. It's never going to sell anybody insurance. But anyway, guys, that's the lesson today. It has very little to do with music and has a lot to do with psychology. But if you do work in a retail store, there's a very good lesson there of paying attention to your surroundings, pay attention to the people's body language, pay attention if they're doing something that's really uncharacteristic, and it might help you in the future. That's about it today, guys. Please comment below. Have you had a similar situation like this? Do you know about this reframing the conversation? Please consider following me on Instagram. I'm pretty good on Instagram. I got almost 3,000 followers. That's not that many, but I'm more active on Instagram than YouTube lately. So, and I will follow you back. If you have a YouTube channel about music, I will follow you here on YouTube, and I would love to follow you on Instagram if you have music or anything cool like that, or guitars, or, All right, guys, thanks again. Talk to you soon.